My sister had an affair with my husband for a year and showed up pregnant at my house. What I did next surprised everyone, including myself. I am a 34-year-old woman, and 3 months ago my life exploded in a way I never imagined possible. My younger sister Emma stood on my doorstep with her hand on her stomach and told me she was 4 months pregnant with my husband's baby. Not an ex-husband. My current husband. The man sleeping upstairs in our bed. This is the story of betrayal so complete it should have destroyed me. And how it did not. The marriage. I met Connor when I was 27. He was kind, steady, the kind of man who remembered small things and showed up when he said he would. We dated for 2 years, got engaged, married when I was 30. 4 years of marriage that I thought were good. Not perfect. Marriage is work, but good, solid, built on trust. Or so I thought. We had been trying for a baby for 18 months. Fertility treatments, medications, time cycles that turned intimacy into a medical procedure. It was hard, on both of us, but we were in it together. Or I thought we were. Turns out, he was also in something else. The sister. Emma is 31, 3 years younger than me. We were close growing up, best friends. The kind of sisters who knew each other's secrets and showed up for each other's pain. She lived 2 hours away, worked as a dental hygienist, had been through a string of relationships that never quite worked out. She visited often, once a month at least, stayed the weekend. Connor and I had a guest room that was basically her room. I loved having her there. Connor and Emma got along well. They joked, talked about movies. He would ask her advice about gifts for me. I thought it was sweet that my husband and sister were friends. I was wrong about what kind of friends they were. The discovery. 3 months ago Emma called and asked if she could come visit that weekend. I said of course. She arrived Friday evening. Connor and I were both home. We ordered pizza, watched a movie. Normal. Except Emma seemed tense. Kept looking at Connor. He kept avoiding eye contact with her. I noticed but did not say anything. I thought they might have had a small argument about something unimportant. Saturday morning I woke up early. Connor was still asleep. Emma was already in the kitchen making coffee. I came downstairs in my pajamas and said good morning. She turned around and I saw her face. Red eyes. Like she had been crying for hours. I said, "What is wrong?" She said, "I need to tell you something." I sat down at the kitchen table. My stomach already twisting because something in her voice felt wrong. Final. Like a door closing. She sat across from me. Put both hands flat on the table. She said, "I am pregnant." I felt a sharp pain in my chest. Because we had been trying for 18 months, and here was my little sister pregnant, and I was supposed to be happy for her, and instead I just felt broken. I said, "Congratulations. Who is the father?" She looked at me. Really looked at me. And I knew. Before she said it I knew. She said, "Connor." The room went sideways. I do not remember the next few minutes clearly. I know I stood up. I know Emma was talking. I know my ears were ringing. I said, "Say that again." She said, "The baby is Connor's. We have been seeing each other for about a year. I am 4 months pregnant." I said, "Seeing each other? Like dating?" She said, "Like having an affair." I am so sorry. I did not mean for this to happen. It just did. And now I am pregnant and I cannot keep lying. I looked at her stomach. Still flat. No visible sign. But she was carrying my husband's baby. My husband's baby. Not mine. I said, "Where?" She said, "What?" I said, "Where did this happen?" "In my house." She looked at the floor. I said, "In my guest room? In my house?" She nodded. I said, "Get out." She said, "Please let me explain." I said, "Get out of my house right now, or I will call the police and have you removed for trespassing." She stood up, started crying, said she was sorry again. I did not look at her. I heard her go upstairs, heard her pack, heard her come back down. She stopped at the kitchen doorway. She said, "I know you hate me, but this is still your niece or nephew." I hope someday you can be in the baby's life. I said nothing. She left. I sat at the kitchen table and stared at the wall. The confrontation. Connor came downstairs 20 minutes later. He walked into the kitchen rubbing his eyes and said, "Where's Emma?"
"Her car is gone."
I said, "She left after telling me she is 4 months pregnant with your baby." He stopped moving. His face went white.
He said, "What?"
I said, "Do not insult me by pretending you did not hear." He sat down hard in the chair Emma had been sitting in.
He said, "I can explain."
I said, "Was it in our house?"
He said, "What?"
I said, "Did you have sex with my sister in our house?" Silence. I said, "Connor, answer the question." He said, "Sometimes. When you were at work." I felt something in me shut down, like a door slamming.
Calm, cold, clear.
I said, "Get out." He said, "Can we talk about this?" I said, "No. Get out of my house. You have 1 hour to pack whatever you need immediately. Everything else we will deal with through lawyers." He said, "Please. Let me explain what happened." I said, "I do not care what happened. I care what you did. And what you did was have an affair with my sister in my house while I was working to pay for our fertility treatments. Get out." He said, "Where am I supposed to go?" I said, "I truly do not care. You have 59 minutes. He went upstairs. I heard him moving around, opening drawers. The sounds of someone packing a life in a hurry. I sat at the kitchen table and did not move. I felt nothing. Not rage. Not grief. Not panic. Nothing. The first week, Connor left with 2 suitcases and his laptop. I locked the door behind him. Then I sat on my couch and stared at nothing for 3 hours. My best friend Jenna called around noon. She could tell something was wrong from my voice. She said, "What happened?" I said, "Emma is pregnant with Connor's baby."
She said, "What?"
I said, "They had an affair for a year. She is 4 months pregnant. She told me this morning. He left an hour ago." Jenna said, "I am coming over." She arrived 40 minutes later with food and wine and her overnight bag. She did not ask me if I wanted company. She just stayed. For 3 days she stayed. She made me eat, made me shower, sat with me while I cried when the nothing finally broke into something. On day 3 I called a lawyer. Her name was Patricia Chen. She had handled my friend's divorce 2 years ago. I told her everything in 10 minutes. She was quiet when I finished. Then she said, "I am very sorry this happened to you. But I want you to know that legally your position is very strong. Were you working during the marriage?"
I said, "Yes."
"I am a project manager. I make $90,000 a year. Connor makes $60,000 as a graphic designer." She said, "Who owns the house?" I said, "Both our names are on it, but I paid the down payment from my savings before we got married. $40,000. She said, "Do you have documentation of that?" I said, "Yes. Bank statements from my personal account." She said, "Good. Washington is a community property state, but we can make a case that your separate contribution before marriage entitles you to a greater share of the marital assets." "How long have you been married?" I said, "For years." She said, "That works in your favor. Shorter marriages means simpler divisions." "No children yet?" I said, "No. We were trying. That is the worst part. I was paying for fertility treatments while he was getting my sister pregnant." Patricia was quiet again. Then she said, "I will make sure he regrets every decision that led him here." I believed her. The family. My parents called on day 4. Emma had told them, not the whole truth. Her version. Mom said, "Emma told us she is pregnant. She said the father is Connor and that you are very upset." I said, "Upset is not the word. Destroyed is closer." Dad said, "We know this is hard, but Emma is still your sister. And this baby is still your niece or nephew. We need to figure out how to move forward as a family." I said, "Emma had an affair with my husband for a year in my home. She is pregnant with his baby while I have been going through fertility treatments. There is no family to move forward with." Mom said, "People make mistakes. I said, a mistake is forgetting a birthday. This was a choice. Hundreds of choices. For a year. Dad said, she is pregnant and scared. She needs support. I said, then you support her. I am not capable of that. Mom said, you're being selfish. And that is when something in me snapped. I said, I am being selfish? I am the one who got betrayed by my husband and my sister, and I am being selfish? Mom said, she is carrying your niece or nephew. You have a responsibility. I said, I have no responsibility to a child conceived through adultery by people who betrayed me. Dad said, that is a harsh thing to say. I said, it is an honest thing to say. Here is another honest thing. If you choose to support Emma, through this you are choosing her over me. I will not be around while you do that. Mom said, you cannot make us choose. I said, I am not making you choose. I am telling you the consequence of the choice you already made by calling this a mistake and telling me I am being selfish. I hung up. They called back 7 times. I did not answer. The divorce. Patricia filed for divorce 2 weeks after Emma's announcement. We filed on grounds of adultery. In Washington, you do not need grounds. But Patricia said, if we're going to do this, we're going to do it right. We requested a larger share of marital assets due to my separate contribution before marriage and my higher income during marriage. We requested spousal support for 1 year while Connor transitioned.
Wait.
Spousal support? He cheated and I pay him? Patricia explained. In theory, yes. But we're asking for a very small amount. $1,000 a month for 1 year. $12,000 total. In exchange, he will not contest the asset division. She called it a strategic trade. Give him something small so he does not fight over the big things. Connor's lawyer called Patricia 3 days after receiving the filing. He wanted to negotiate. Patricia told me, he wants half of everything. He says he is entitled to a share of marital assets regardless of the adultery. I said, he can try. Patricia smiled. She said, that is what I told his lawyer. We had a settlement conference 4 weeks after filing.
Me.
Patricia. Connor. His lawyer. We sat in a conference room, and I looked at my husband for the first time since he left. He looked tired. Thinner. He could not meet my eyes. Patricia laid out her offer. I keep the house minus a payment to him of $30,000 for his equity. I keep my car and retirement account. He keeps his car and his retirement account. I pay him $1,000 a month for 12 months. Clean split otherwise. Connor's lawyer said, this is not an equal division. Patricia said, my client contributed $40,000 in separate property before marriage. She earned more during the marriage. And most importantly, your client committed adultery with her sister, resulting in pregnancy. If you want to go to a judge and argue he deserves half, I am happy to make that case in open court with details. I suspect the judge will be less sympathetic than we are being now. Connor's lawyer looked at Connor.
Connor signed.
The divorce was final 6 weeks later. Fastest divorce Patricia had ever handled. She said, adultery with a family member makes things simple. Nobody wants to fight. The baby. Emma tried to contact me 7 times over the next 2 months. Texts, emails,
Calls.
all saying the same thing. I am so sorry. I know I hurt you, but this baby is innocent. I want you to be part of the baby's life. You are going to be an aunt.
Please talk to me.
I did not respond. My parents called and asked me to reconsider. I said, has she expressed remorse for the affair or just for the consequences? Mom said, she is sorry. She tells me every day. I said, that is not what I asked. Mom could not answer. Emma had her baby 2 weeks ago. A girl. 7 pounds, 4 ounces.
Healthy.
Mom sent me a picture. I looked at it for a long time. A baby. Innocent, as Emma had said. Not responsible for the circumstances of her conception. But also my ex-husband's daughter with my sister. I felt nothing looking at the picture. Not love. Not hate. Nothing. I deleted the photo. I did not respond to my mom. Where I am now. It has been 3 months since Emma showed up pregnant. I live alone in my house. The house I fought for and kept. I got a dog. A rescue mutt named Henry who sleeps at the foot of my bed and greets me like I am the best thing that ever happened to him. I am in therapy twice a week, working through betrayal and trust and the question of whether I will ever want to try marriage again. I am not dating, not even considering it. I am just healing. My parents have chosen Emma. They're helping her with the baby, babysitting, financially supporting her. I have not spoken to them in 2 months. They send texts occasionally. Always the same message. Family is family. We need to find a way through this. I do not respond. Because family is not just a word you say to make someone accept mistreatment. Family is what you do. And what they did was ask me to get over my husband sleeping with my sister because there is a baby now. I am not capable of that. Connor tried to contact me once. A long email about how sorry he was and how it started innocently and spiraled, and he never meant to hurt me. I read it once. Then I replied with 2 words, delete this address. He has not contacted me again. Emma sends cards.
Birthday.
Holidays. I donate them unopened. I am building a new life. Smaller than the one I had. Quieter. But mine. No betrayal living in the walls. No lies sleeping in my bed. Just me and Henry and therapy and the slow work of trusting myself again. What I learned that the people you trust most can hurt you in ways you never imagined. I learned that blood does not protect you from betrayal. Sometimes blood is where betrayal comes from. I learned that you can love someone completely and still walk away when they show you who they really are. I learned that parents who ask you to forgive unforgivable things are not protecting family. They are protecting their own comfort. I learned that divorce can be fast when guilt makes someone willing to sign. I learned that grief and relief can exist in the same body at the same time. And I learned that the person I needed to trust most was myself. And I did. I trusted myself to leave. To fight. To choose me even when everyone else said I should choose forgiveness. That trust is what will carry me forward. The question everyone asks. People ask if I will ever forgive them.
My therapist does not ask that.
She asks, what would forgiveness do for you? I think about it. Forgiveness would mean I could have my sister back. My parents back. Some version of family. But it would also mean accepting back into my life people who showed me they are capable of profound betrayal. And I do not know if I want that. Forgiveness might come someday. Years from now. When the wound is scar tissue instead of bleeding. But it will not come because they ask for it or because a baby exists or because my parents think I should. It will only come if I wake up one day and realize I am carrying something I no longer need to carry. That day is not today. And I am okay with that. The future. I do not know what my future looks like. I do not know if I will marry again. I do not know if I will have children. I do not know if I will ever speak to Emma or my parents again. I do not know any of those things. What I do know is this. I am 34 years old. I own a house. I have a career I am good at. I have friends who showed up and stayed. I have a dog who loves me. I have a therapist who helps me see clearly. I have a life that is mine, untangled from people who hurt me, and that is enough to build on. The rest will come when it comes. For everyone asking, do you regret cutting off your parents?
No.
They made it clear where their priorities were. I am protecting myself from people who ask me to prioritize a baby conceived through betrayal over my own healing. Will you ever meet the baby? I do not know. Right now, no. In the future, maybe if circumstances change dramatically. But I am not making that decision from pressure. Only from genuine readiness, if it ever comes. Do you hate Emma?
No.
Hate requires energy I do not have. I feel nothing for her. She is someone I used to know who hurt me. That is all. How is Connor? I do not know, and I do not ask. He is not my concern anymore. What would you tell someone going through similar betrayal? Trust yourself. Your gut knew before your brain did. Your reaction is valid. You do not owe forgiveness to people who broke you. Walk away and build something new. It will hurt, but staying hurts worse. Are you okay? I am getting there.
Day by day.
And some days that is enough.
End.
My sister had an affair with my husband for a year and showed up pregnant at my house. What I did next surprised everyone, including myself. I did not scream, did not break things, did not beg. I just closed the door.
On both of them.
On my parents who chose her. On the life I thought I had. And I started building a new one. Brick by brick.
Day by day.
With a dog named Henry and a therapist who does not ask me to forgive. Just to survive. And then eventually to thrive. I am not there yet, but I am on my way. And that is more than I thought I would have 3 months ago when my sister stood on my doorstep and destroyed everything I thought was true. I am still here. Still standing. Still building. That is victory enough.